As we begin today's study, we want to recall that we are looking at the role and function of righteousness as it relates to the final preparation of the bride for the wedding supper of the Lamb. In today's lesson, we will be looking at the attitude that must be adopted for manifesting a righteous lifestyle. Humility and obedience are the foundation for the manifestation of a righteous lifestyle. Being humble and obedience to the will of God has always been the expectation of God towards his creation. To do otherwise will result in works of unrighteousness and partakers in the work of darkness. Humility. In Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 to 17, we see that before the reformation of this earth, as found in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, Lucifer, the bright and morning star, was cast out of his heavenly glory and was thrown down into the earthly realm, all because of pride. Again, it was the desire to be like God, knowing good and evil, that caused Adam and Eve to fall from their state of righteousness and became unrighteous and were therefore driven from the Garden of Eden and from the presence of a righteous God. It was the lifting up of pride that caused God to humble King Nebuchadnezzar and made him to walk like an animal and to eat grass. Daniel chapter 4 verse 33. It was a sin of pride that caused many kings and rulers of this world to fall from their position of fame and glory. And therefore, it behooves the child of God to always be humble in their manifestation of the glory of God and to resist from ascribing to themselves that which belongs to God. Our next point to consider is obedience, since it is not only foundational, but is the building block to the will of God for the manifestation of a righteous lifestyle. In the absence of time, let me use the very example of Israel's continuous failure to obey God's instructions that led them to their removal of his covering and favor towards them, and finally to his divorcing them as his wife, to warn the church of failure to bear fruits of righteousness. Romans chapter 7 verse 4. The believer and the church collectively should take Paul's stern warning to lukewarm Christians. It says in Romans chapter 11 verses 21 and 22, "For if God spare not the natural branch Israel, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold therefore the goodness and severity of God. On them which fall severity, but towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off." We must remember to always let our light shine before men, so that they may see our good works, that is righteous deeds, and so glorify the Father which is in heaven. Matthew chapter 5 verse 16. The takeaway that we must learn from these examples are for us to remain humble in the manifestation of our gifts and calling, and be willing to do all that the Spirit of God is showing us and instructing us, especially from his word. We should be aware that it is only as we are diligent to manifest works of righteousness that we can speak of a victorious life in this world. Our attitude towards God, self, and others should be the same that Jesus Christ had when, in human form, he obediently humbled himself even further by dying a criminal death on a cross. Philippians chapter 2 verses 1 to 4 gives us further details. Remember, it is this attitude that we must display, since it is the means by which our lifestyle is to be measured. The song which says, "Trust and obey, for there is no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey," still remain true today. Let me leave with you some scriptures that speaks of the righteousness of God. Psalms chapter 48 verse 10, Ephesians chapter 4 verse 24, Matthew 21 verses 28 to 32, Revelation chapter 19 verses 11 to 16, Jeremiah 26 verse 6, and Isaiah 61 verse 11. In our next session, we will look at the topic, is salvation a marriage? Thank you and goodbye.